This is a special edition of The Voice of Alabama Politics. Michael G. Hubbard convicted on 12 felony counts of public corruption. We'll be talking about this and the trial coming up next on The V.
The Voice of Alabama Politics with your host, Bill Brett. Now, the #1 political show in Alabama, The V.
We hope that this verdict tonight will restore some of the confidence in the people of the state of Alabama, that public officials at all levels in the state of Alabama will be held accountable for their actions.
I feel like the whole team from the Attorney General Special Prosecution Division has been working for Mr. Davis, is vindicated by this and our methods. We were accused, but at every step along the way, the court never found any basis for those things. And in this kind of prosecution, when you're investigating and prosecuting people at the highest levels of power in government, you're going to get that sort of tactic. And I think it just shows that's what it was, as a tactic. So to the extent we need vindication, I think the verdict gives that.
Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and we're here with a special edition about the conviction of Michael G. Hubbard. Welcome all.
Good morning, everyone.
It was a grueling 3 weeks. It was tough on the prosecution. It was tough on the defense. Our hearts go out to the Hubbard family, but we have to admit, those of us who have followed this from the beginning know that justice was served. Right, Susan?
It was served finally. I mean, the corruption in Alabama has reached an all-time high peak, and it just, something had to be done. Something had to get this to stop. And, you know, the jury went out, and I think they really sent a very loud message to Montgomery to say, you know, this corruption is going to stop. You legislators, you know, we're not going to allow this anymore, this pay-to-play stuff. This has got to stop.
Jack, you've written on this quite a bit. You've been around the party forever. What's your thoughts?
I have, and I was disturbed what I had observed these last few years. And I remember when we were honorable folks, and those Republicans who were in the legislature seemed to be, at the time, when we didn't have very many of them, very honorable people. But this has been a very different climate since Mike Hubbard became Speaker. And I think a lot of Republicans really didn't even feel welcome in their own party. And now I think we're taking the party back. And like you said, it's no gloating here, you know.
No,
we've covered this for a long time. Talked about it, analyzed it. It's unfortunate, but maybe it will send a message to others that you can't circumvent the law and expect to walk.
I mean, our public offices, this isn't NASCAR. We don't have sponsored by and all the logos of the people who pay our elected officials. That's not how this works. And I mean, the prosecution said it in their closing arguments that, you know, the people pay Mike Hubbard to do a job and pay all of these legislators to do a job that they asked to have. And it's not right that now they go around saying, well, this job isn't fair. It's not what I want. It doesn't pay enough. You asked for this job. You get to do the work that you asked the people to give you.
Well, one thing was clear. Mike Hubbard was making $61,000 to $62,000 a year in his legislative job. He was making $132,000 from his other job, and he had these contracts that were worth about $31,000 a month, and it just was never enough, Susan.
It was never enough. In those contracts, he was averaging $35,000 a month on top of his legislative pay, what his wife was making there. I mean, when you look at their income from their income taxes over those several years, even though he lost that IMG contract, even though he was cut back by half at one point, the salaries never changed. He just moved money from here to there, so nothing ever changed. And I'm sorry, while I get that it's okay to do that, if you're doing it in a legitimate way, you got to do it by the law.
Well, Mike was serving himself and not the people of Alabama. And I tell you, there were some other folks this past 3 weeks, Jack, that were serving themselves too. And that's Bob Riley, Minda Riley Campbell, and Don Williamson. I mean, these people said anything, did anything. Billy Canary
Yes.
did too. I mean, they just went overboard for Mike Hubbard.
Well, with Canary, it was selective memory, of course. Not remembering a meeting in Auburn where Mike asked Dax Swaddup for $150,000. Dax remembered it and probably is one of Mike's closest advisors. And he came over here and he told the truth. And Billy fudged. And, you know, and then the Rileys wanted to lecture everybody about what a great guy Mike Hubbard was. And I understand Bob wouldn't answer a question about, did you ever warn him that what he was doing could have been unlawful, and he didn't want to answer that. Minda wanted to lecture the jury, and I mean, it was a charade.
Well, the jury came back on, especially the charges relating to Bob and Minda Riley. The jury came back with a not guilty verdict on those, and they came back about 2 hours after they started deliberating and asked for additional instruction on what reasonable doubt meant. And I think that we had a couple of jurors on there who were really playing up that reasonable doubt part about,
Right.
well, what relationship was this? There's some gray area there, but the ones that were cut and dry, those are the ones where we found guilty verdicts.
Well, and I think what's really important here, that we all kind of thought that all of the charges wouldn't be a conviction. But I tell you, the most important ones where he was soliciting lobbyists for things of real value, things of, Will Brook for the plan, $150,000, even from Jimmy Rain, they came back with a guilty on that charge.
Well, we always thought that the American Pharmacy Cooperative, Inc. would be the charge that would stick. And I don't know if we've ever told this story before. We got a call in the middle of the night
We did.
and said, look at PBMs. We had heard there was some rumbling and fight between Josh Blades and Mike Hubbard.
There had
And-
been an explosion in
Explosion.
the speaker's office.
Yeah. And so we started looking at, we didn't even know what a PBM
No, we
was at the
didn't.
point. But
So,
we,
of course, we called Brandon.
we did call
we called
Brandon.
Brandon.
Brandon found out, and he found everybody who would qualify in Alabama to do a PBM, and we still didn't have it. So we kept digging and digging and digging. It took us about a month.
Yeah, it did.
We finally found where they put the 23 words in the budget that would have given APCI a monopoly, and that's how we got him. Amazingly, someone over at AL.com found that same story 2 days later.
days
I was,
later, almost
I was like,
verbatim.
dang, how good that.
Yeah.
What does this do for Don Williamson, y'all?
He's a
I can tell you,
lobbyist.
his credibility with the press corps is really bad right now.
Well, I talked to a senator the other day who said Don Williamson better never come before me or my committee and ask for anything, because it ain't gonna happen. He's toast. He got up on that stand and did not tell the truth. He may have not told a lie, but he didn't tell the whole truth.
But go back and look
Right.
at the pictures of him. Now, this is a guy that we, as journalists, he's always the straight standing guy on the podium. He always knows his facts. He's always very confident. In that courtroom, he was not. His shoulders were drawn. His head was bowed. I mean, he looked like he was folding himself
He was,
in half.
he was the poster child for closed body language.
Yes.
I mean,
And
if you
has
were
been
using it in a
hired
textbook.
since retirement, or even before retirement, at over $500,000 a year with the Alabama Hospital Association.
Well-
How can you trust him now? How
Exactly.
can you trust him?
Well, the thing is, and they've got a problem with that opinion that the Alabama Ethics Commission gave him, because if Mike was guilty on this, it's very likely that Don Williamson has
Right.
something to worry about.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's illegal to give or receive, and we've got a guilty verdict on
15
receiving.
seconds.
Where are we on
Well,
giving?
We'll pick that up when we get right back. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics, special edition, Hubbard Guilty. Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Hubbard was found guilty on the majority of the crimes he was accused of. I think some of them, Beth, is because he didn't get convicted because there was just that grain of reasonable doubt. And that's good. I mean, listen.
It means the jury really considered this.
Right.
They really looked at every charge.
You know, because if they just said no reasonable doubt,
Bless you.
on any of them, then we would have had to wonder, did they really look at all of them?
Right.
I mean, we know that they looked solid, but they didn't
I
necessarily
mean, and
know.
as much as we hated sitting there waiting, and Susan and I were locked in the courthouse, and y'all were locked out of the courthouse, and as much as we hated that, I really respected the fact that the jury took the time to really go through each charge one by one and say, okay, what do we think about this? Because it means that they really gave this the weight and consideration
And there was
it needed.
a lot of information there. We're talking about 23 counts, each of which has somewhere between 3 and 5 elements apiece. It's not just,
Well,
you think you did it or not. It wasn't that simple.
I think one of the things that happened that was absolutely brilliant is Michael Duffy, your friend, came with a PowerPoint presentation that was so concise and showed things so big that the jurors finally got it. He connected the dots.
Well, and I had been telling y'all after that first day that I came and sat down, I said, this is just, if I'm looking at this from the outside, it's so big, I'm afraid that they're not putting it back into a package and putting a bow on it for the jury. And that's what Duffy did. He wrapped it back up and put a bow on it and said, here are your convictions.
Right.
Michael Duffy is a smart man and a good guy from everything we know.
Well, I had to meet with him when I filed my affidavit back in February. I spent a lot of time in their office that day, and I thought they were professional and knowledgeable as they could be about the whole case, although a lot of stuff they couldn't talk about.
Yeah.
Because,
Right.
Well, and I told him you're a good friend because you came back just praising how he had handled it.
how he handled it perfectly.
When you say friends, how close to friends?
Did you use the mantle of your office with that?
$150,000. I haven't known him all my life, so.
Well, and there was just some crazy moments, like when Mike didn't know that he thought this guy was dead.
Yeah, that friend of his since college. They've been really close, and he didn't know he wasn't dead. I mean,
and he said, I must got it mixed.
Well, didn't he get, to his credit, defense, didn't he get him confused with someone else who actually was dead?
Well, but he didn't work. This guy didn't work
was
for
supposed to be.
Publix.
He
okay.
was supposed to be a really close friend since college.
That
But
worked
I've
at
got a couple of friends
Publix.
named Jack, and if they ask me about a Jack that's alive and a Jack that's dead, I'm going to know which one you are, Jack. Like, I'm not going to get you confused.
Anyway.
Yeah, and they showed him the email and everything. It's not.
Well,
yeah,
it wasn't
just a passing comment.
I think it's very, very, very telling that, Mike took the stand in his own defense. They had no other witnesses, and they either had to feel desperate, like they were losing, or that Mike thought he could charm or fool the jury. Susan, I think that's what it was.
I think so. I think Van Davis said it very well in his closing argument yesterday. He's so arrogant. He told the jury, he said, Mike Hubbard is so arrogant. He thought he could come down here and just charm y'all. Charm you, make you think he did nothing wrong. And I think the jury really got that.
It could be, too, that they were just facts that only Hubbard could testify to. Because you can only testify if you've got firsthand knowledge of something. So it could have been there were only facts he could testify to. But when it all comes down to it, a lawyer cannot force their client to take the stand. That was Mike Hubbard's decision to get on that witness stand.
No, I think he never believed that he was guilty of anything. I think to this day, Jack, he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. I think he thinks it's the conspiracy. At first it was us, then it was the AEA, then it was this one, then it was that one. I mean, it was all of us coming after.
Add me to the list.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's all of us.
Everybody but him.
Right.
Everybody but him.
I mean, we had a small band of people that were really committed to seeing justice done, not harm Mike Hubbard. It wasn't about Mike Hubbard, never. It was about the individual, was it, Jack?
No, not him individually, although he's a petulant child at times.
That's
and
putting
hard
it
to
lightly.
deal with, and very, very punishing to people who don't, cotton to him and espouse his philosophies.
Yeah.
Pretty ruthless.
Now there was also in there, and one of the other reporters was, of course, we were all locked in together, so that we had a lot of conversation going on last night, talking about the email that was brought up, and I think there were actually 2 emails from Hubbard to Riley,
Yeah.
where there was votes that went against whatever it was that they were pushing for, and Riley said, "Send me the names of the no votes." That was very clearly a hit list.
Yeah.
Right?
They punished, if you didn't do what they wanted, they punished you.
And I don't think that was able to be communicated to the jury. You know, when Hubbard had to vote on the budget, that it wasn't that he was one vote in a budget that passed almost unanimously. It was that his light didn't come on. A third of the legislature didn't know how to cast their votes.
Right.
And you can't tell a jury that I've actually been in the House when I saw the no votes come on and then him have a yes vote and all those no votes change to yeses that quick.
Right.
That's really hard
and,
to
you know,
explain.
we've talked a lot about, you know, Hubbard and his theories that this is all a conspiracy against him. And I think that, you know, what a lot of our viewers and a lot of the readers of APR don't realize is that when APR started, y'all's goal was to come to Montgomery and talk about the Republican reforms and champion the things that were going on to clean up the corruption in Montgomery. Y'all's intention was never to come down and take out Mike Hubbard. It was that you got there and you saw something you couldn't ignore, and it's your job to report the facts. And if the facts are dirty, that's up to the person making them.
Well, you know, it was the 2011 session. It was just, you could sense it, Jack. There was bills that were passed, and then we'd look, and the next day, that company would put money into some PAC that belonged to either Hubbard or Riley. It was like, what is this?
And when the when the Paris Air Show came up, and we were concerned about all of these officials going over there, a state that's broke, paying officials to go to Paris.
Yeah, we can't
and
keep
all
our
those
driver's license office.
Exactly, and you and I looked into it, and when we asked the Speaker's office, he said, "Oh no, I was paid. Was paid for by Southeastern's gas district," and we kind of went, "Okay, that doesn't sound right."
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, they did not find him guilty on that charge, but
No.
he did the same thing with these other companies that they did find him guilty on, and it was just. You know, those are the things that kept going in our minds. You know, it's like we reported them. He would go after our advertisers. We would report them. They would release emails to everybody saying what scumbags we were. I mean,
it got personal.
They took pictures of our house. They followed us. They did everything to harass us.
but you know what? It's like we've said before, and we had a lot of friends. Not a lot of friends. We had a lot of help.
Yes, we did.
We had a lot, but what? Not a lot. We had selective help. I got to get this right, Jack.
I know.
Selective help, a few people, and it's proven once again that when committed individuals want to do the right thing, they can change government as long as they stand together. We know that's true because it's the only thing that ever
And as
happened.
Dumbledore
true.
says in Harry Potter, the truth will out.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. We'll be right back in just a minute with more news and analysis about the criminal trial of Mike Hubbard.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
It's time to take a road trip.
In Alabama, the road and the restaurants are calling. We've elevated barbecue to an art form, a meat masterpiece. Fine dining your thing? National awards are putting us on the map.
Because everything's fresh and local.
And if you like your dinner with a view, well, you can't beat this. Alabama has a road trip with your name on it.
Which one you gonna take?
Welcome back to The V, a special edition, The Conviction of Michael G. Hubbard. Where do we go to from here? Where do we go? How do we, these systemic problems that we've seen, Jack, these legislators, as they say, all 104 of them voted to have Mike in as Speaker, even though he was already charged. I mean, where do we go, Jack? How do we trust these men and women who elected him, who stood by him, who went to his pep rally? What do we do, Jack?
Well, I mean, you got to trust in the system, believe it or not. And let's see what the sentence is. If he gets jail time, and I don't know how he avoids it, a little bit anyway, that may send a message, hey guys, enough's enough. And, you know, you just got to hope whoever the next speaker is, and I'm sure they're already jockeying.
Of course they are. They were last
I
night,
hope it's
I'm
a
sure.
non-Hubbardite. I hope it's somebody fresh, clean, who's going to include Democrats, include moderates, conservatives.
Well, it has to be a non-Hubbardite. Anybody that was at that pep rally is disqualified. And I tell you what, I'll make that one the poster child. And they better not do anything, step a hair out of line.
Yes, this is a time for us to take our state and put it on the right path. We need to get the right people in the right positions. We need to get the right laws. If, like, for instance, if you were convicted of something and it has to do with your office, you cannot come back and lobby.
Right.
If you're indicted, you have to step down. This is
From
the time
your office,
from your
yeah.
office, or if you're in a leadership
yeah,
position.
right.
And Treadaway's coming back with that
Yeah,
legislation.
and I'm good to hear, because this is a time that we need to get all the measures, get the people in place, and get the measures in place to stop this from happening again.
Susan, I think you hit on it because, when the Republicans stormed the State House back in 2010, that was their big shtick, was the Democrats have been a culture of corruption for too long. And look at where it got us. And the thing is, like, if it didn't send the message when Siegelman went to jail, Siegelman's still sitting in a federal prison right now.
Yeah.
There will still be another crooked politician
Oh,
down
yeah.
the line. And, if you're letting the people who are trying to break the laws be the people who will write the laws, we can't trust that legislative reform will do this. What we have to do is elect people with integrity. And how to do that, I'm not sure, but
Well,
they'll
I'm not
find a way to get around the laws.
Yeah, they will. I mean, somebody asked me, what are you going to do after Hubbard? I said, we got stories backlogged. I mean, this is public corruption will always be here as long as you have humans. That's just human nature.
And I think a lot of our colleagues are now, this has made them hyper aware of the Capitol Press Corps. It's made them hyper aware. And I hope they also take this opportunity to be a watchdog as well.
And don't forget, too, this isn't over.
No.
This isn't over. The
No.
only statements that we had from the defense last night was that they will appeal. So there will be more litigation coming in. And I don't know if Hubbard's going to file a civil suit against the devil for breach of contract or what he's going to do there. But there's more litigation to come. Hubbard will be, if he gets sentenced, he will be out of jail pending appeal, and this could go on another 2 or 3 years.
Well, and that's fine. He's out of office.
Right.
He cannot do any more damage than he can't do the kind of damage he's done. He's out of office. He's ruined politically. And I tell you, anybody thinks that Matt Hart's done,
No.
they're crazy. He's not done.
He's not done.
Yeah, they were asked specifically last night in the press conference, will this lead to other investigations and other indictments? And they said no comment. So we didn't get a no.
They said
but we
no
didn't-
comment twice.
We didn't get a no, we didn't get a yes, but
Sadly,
there wasn't
the
a
song
no.
"The Wicked Witch is Dead" is in my mind.
I got a few of those
And,
texts last
I mean,
night saying that same thing, Jack.
Well, I tell you, one of the things we've got to see is we've got to see a new leadership, real new leadership. We have to look at the law that says you can lobby. If you're a convicted felon related to your office, you can't lobby. And then we need the revealing of all these contracts. Even lawyers who have contracts, they need to be on that list.
There doesn't need to be a way, like Mike Hubbard did, a way around getting it off of your ethics forms,
right.
where he specifically, and this is an email that the prosecution didn't bring up, or at least I didn't see that I was disappointed, where he told one of his clients, please don't put it in my personal name, put it in the Auburn Network so that I don't have to report it on my ethics forms. That's gotta
Susan,
stop.
we could get out of all of this and thinking about how much money the state has spent on this one trial and how much we spent in Scrooge and how much we spent in Siegelman and Bingo and community college. If we would pay our legislators a full-time salary and say that you cannot have any other income besides this, how much money would that save us in the long run?
Probably a
doing
lot.
this?
Well,
We'd all be out of work, so it would be a report.
I don't know. They're always doing
They're all
something.
gonna do
Right, Jack?
Yeah, well, I worked in the Texas legislature, and they gave them a salary and a staff, and they meet only every 2 years. But you could have a legislative aide during session and an executive assistant year-round. And you had an office, your own office, not some cubbyhole. They treated them like lawmakers, and as a result, they got better results.
And maybe let's throw in some term limits while we're at it,
Well,
too.
I'm all
That could
for
help
that.
something.
Well, Judge Jacob Walker did an excellent job of running that court.
Oh, he runs a tight ship. He does, and I
He
really
says 9
appreciate
o'clock,
that.
He means 9 o'clock.
He means 8:58, buddy.
We have to thank our supporters. We have to thank those folks that have stood by us through thick and thin.
I don't we have to thank Jonathan.
Hey, y'all. Glad to
Are
be
you
here.
storming the courthouse?
I'm storming the courthouse, but not like Mike Hubbard style. So.
Well, we have to thank you, Jonathan,
Yeah, we do.
keeping us
And
on the air.
Joel for everything
Joel.
he's done.
We're
And
not
Kurt.
going off the air
And-
now.
No,
No, we're here. We're
No,
here.
we're here to
to
stay.
Someone asked me last night, well, "Are y'all done?" And I'm like, "What?"
With what?
Are we done? We're just getting started.
Maybe
Yeah,
able to
this
find
is
some
the
people that wanna-
beginning. This is
maybe
the birthday.
Find some people that want to be sponsors.
Yeah, we could use some advertising.
Yeah, instead of people running away from us, maybe.
Well, I wanted to thank, I know you've thanked the viewers and people on Facebook and people that read AL Reporter. Last night we had hundreds of thank yous on Facebook and across Twitter for the coverage that we've gotten. Even people who have remained quiet have come forward and said, thank you for what you've done. I want to thank the TV stations, all the ABC affiliates who ran us across the state. I want to thank the Alabama Cable Network, Don Early. I want to thank my mom and dad who helped us when we needed it, when we lost our advertisers from some of this regime. They stepped in a little bit. And I want to thank Gerald and Tammy Hetrick, who are Impact Closed Captioning, for letting us.
They have been there for us.
Yeah, for letting us send these files at all hours of the night, and they get it done and they get it on the air. And I just want to thank y'all for everything you've done and allowing me to be a part of this. And I've been down here, and y'all haven't seen me on camera because I've been behind the scenes, but it has been probably one of the most interesting things I've done besides working for Donald Trump.
Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize is Bill and Susan, y'all broke this back in 2013. Y'all were the first to bring news of the verdict. And next time something happens, y'all will be there. And people in this state are stupid if they don't keep an eye on where y'all are looking next.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
It was about doing the right thing. That's what it was about. Well, we want to thank you, our viewers, most of all, because you are why we do this. And we watch them every day for you, and we hope that's why you watch us.
And we love you so much. It's 180 degrees out here right now.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Just for a minute, let's all do the bump, bump, bump. Yeah, can't touch this. Look, man, can't touch this. You better get hype, boy, cause you know you can't touch this. Ring the bell, school's back in. Can't touch this.